So thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to Professor Jasanoff and Professor Risse for getting this conversation started. Mathias asked me to share a few reflections as we wrap up. It was a very rich discussion today, ranging from Kant and Rawls and Nietzsche, all the way to thinking about disinformation at a very granular level. So I'll just share 6 questions / reflections that I picked up, which is always challenging because there was such a breadth and depth of presentations today. The first is that truth could be valuable in human life, but is there a right to truth, or do we want to think about championing a broader value of truth and keeping a public sphere safe for truth-telling? Second, we might want to think about the right to truth, or perhaps a right against misinformation or disinformation, within the context of some of the harms of disinformation on vulnerable communities and the use of search and repetition to give credibility to and amplify such disinformation. Third, we asked, what can we do to prevent the uptake of disinformation? Which truths are sought and which questions should direct our inquiry? Fourth, can we remember that the production of data is embedded in power structures, and that algorithms that are biased in decision-making are also grounded in the bias of individuals and in the violence of institutions? Fifth, what is the role of knowledge production and expert knowledge producers in trust and truth in the digital age? And finally, my own reflection as someone who has kind of worked in the field prior to coming to the Kennedy School and who grew up outside the United States. We've talked largely about truth in the digital age. The reality is that nearly 3 billion people, or 37% of the world's population, have never used the internet. 1 billion people do not have a mobile phone. The poorest of the poor, including women, rural dwellers, and elderly, are left far behind. So what are the implications for truth-conveying experts and platforms who are not reflecting the perspectives and knowledge of approximately 4 in 10 people on the planet, particularly when we've discussed the global and multilingual reach of such disinformation? So on that note, I'd like to close, and I'd like to thank our organizers and each of you for hanging in for the entire day. Thank you all.